Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another episode of Living Resilient. Today on the podcast show, we have a project management professional, Gideon Okoli. He is a Prince 2 practitioner with 7 years experience as an agile project manager. He has lots of experience as well in planning complex projects within the oil and gas industry. He's also affiliated with organizations such as APM, PMI, CQI, CIP Canada, and the Energy Institute. Now, I've invited him over to this podcast because he's left all this to come and do an MSc here in Scotland. So welcome to the podcast, Gideon.
Thank you.
And I'll start by asking, who is Gideon Okoli and why did he leave all these years of experience in project management to come and do an MSc in Scotland?
Okay, I think I'll begin with the second question. Not like I left all my experiences, back home. I think a better way to look at it is that I decided to progress even further, to explore more global opportunities, to give a bit of the much I have gained over the years to the Western world, while trying to learn from the culture of work around here. Yeah. As regards Gideon Okoli, there are different perspectives to my personality. And like I always say, I try not to box myself within certain stereotype, I have a family perspective. I'm a family man. I'm married to a beautiful wife, and I've got a very beautiful daughter too. Professionally, I am much more, within the project management industry. And I'm, given the much I have learned over the years by trying to gain some more knowledge, to progress my career. But most importantly, I like to see myself from a different perspective, and which is my obsession for life, the things I yearn for, and the purpose I'm trying to live. And most times when I get to respond to the question, "Who is Gideon Okoli?" I want to rather respond from that perspective as a young person trying to, work hard, trying to put in put in the work that's required to allow that inherent greatness within me, manifest. It's funny to say, but like I always tell myself, I do not know the picture of what that greatness look like. I do not know I do not have a perfect, projection of the value that greatness can deliver. But I know so well, and I'm so much convinced that it's a personality or a part of me that, if allowed to, manifest, the world will appreciate, that I am certain about.
So is that what motivated you to come over to further your studies?
Okay, yeah. So just like you said, in trying to give myself um, give myself the privilege of leveraging on global opportunities, I took a decision to to leave Nigeria to come to the United Kingdom, and that for me was trying to build on what I have been doing over the years, and also to give myself the opportunity to to get into the system around here.
So how was it? Can you talk about that transition? Because I do know from my interaction with international students, particularly, they do face a lot of challenges, difficulties. Some people call it experience, if you want to look at it from a positive perspective. So how was that transition, your journey, moving over, relocating really, and you came with your family
Absolutely.
to a new land, a new country? How was that for you?
It was a difficult one. It was a difficult one. To start with, it's not the easiest of things to just decide to dissociate with, relationships you have built over the years. You are kind of making a decision not to have a physical contact with your family. I'm big on family. I'm big on my parents, my siblings, my wife, my daughter. Like, I'm just big on. I may not be. I may not be the kind that expresses that love, but somehow within me, I'm just. It's just there that I always want to have that relationship, that physical relationship with my family, and making the decision to leave the country was for me telling myself the possibility of not getting to see my parents for maybe the next 3 years and the next 5 years. Video call does a lot now, but it can be like, physical stuff. And of course, taking the chance to leave Nigeria was also trying to, dissociate myself from the professional network I have built over the years. If you understand the Nigerian terrain or the African terrain, maybe the more available you are, the more opportunities you can access. And, leaving all that to come, to the UK was a very big decision for myself. However, when you make certain difficult decisions, you're making those decisions because there is a future you're looking up to. And I had, done like a mental math as to what I hope to achieve, having made these sacrifices. And they seem to be like the future I am trying to build for myself and my family. And that was, how I was able to suffice, the sacrifice I was making, leaving my relationship back home in Nigeria. So it was a difficult one. Difficult decision to make, leaving friends and family. Difficult decision to make, having to deal with the exchange, rate. If I look at what's happening today, I feel like, it was a blessing for me, having left 2 years ago. If I hadn't made that decision, then probably, who knows? So it was a difficult one because practically the bulk of payments I did were, using exchange rates, school fees, accommodation. Bulk of my first 2-3 months expenses within the country were, exchange, by the exchange rate, the exchange of, naira to pounds at about 800 naira per pound. So it was quite a difficult one. But looking at what's happening today, I'm grateful I made that sacrifice. And I'm hoping that as many persons that are thinking of, making such decision, they do. Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that. What were the steps you took before coming here, or even when you just arrived? What were those key steps that you took towards settling down? Because I would say you settled down pretty relatively quickly compared to some of your peers. And also coupled with the fact that you even came with a family. So did you come immediately with them, or did you come before sending for them? Can you give me more details in terms of your journey and how you came and settled?
I came alone, and then after a few months, my family joined me. But before I came into the country, I took some time to see with my wife. We, had to, do a very critical plan as to how we intend to embark on the journey, the cost, the processes that we are going to go through, the documents needed and all those stuff. And, so it was a very critical plan. And of course, for myself, it was like, okay, so when you get into the country, what happens next? How do you intend to maximize the time? You hear it's a year program and you think it is 1 year, but it is just 365 days. It is days, basically. And if you understand that it is 1 day off, it makes it easy for you to make your plans and makes it easy for you to understand that you do not have all the time you think you have. So we took some time to do a couple of research, understanding the environment, cost of living, accommodation, distance. Of course, in trying to, like, for example, making an accommodation decision, we considered the distance from school for myself. We considered distance to potential work environment for my wife. Considered distance to my daughter's nursery, potential nursery, or because she was in the nursery age at the time she came to the country. So these were like part of the decisions we made. Even though having made these plans, they did not completely align with our expectations arriving in the country. But we had something to, to hold on to, and we had something to work with while trying to realign our plans to what was obtainable within the local environment.
So thank you for saying that, because I think that was one of the reasons I asked this question. Like I said, I have seen students, international students, coming in sometimes alone, sometimes with family, but not making sufficient prior plans. Yes, they would say they've made plans or they called people or agents, but not sufficient in the sense that they still come here and some of them are stranded, having nowhere to go to or where to sleep. So I think from what you've said, it's really key and important that you make enough plans.
Absolutely.
And even if it means you going ahead, instead of just, uprooting your whole family and landing, even if it means you going ahead to, see what the environment is like, you settle accommodation, you said your daughter's school, I think it's very important and necessary, if that's what you need to do.
Absolutely.
So apart from planning, what else did you do? What amount of research did you carry out before moving over here?
I did quite an intense research because I did not have, at the time I came into the country, I did not have a direct family member in the country. So I knew that I was coming into a foreign land. Like, when you say something is foreign, it is completely foreign. For some persons, a foreign land is, a space outside their conventional environment. But for us, it was completely foreign. I had a couple of friends around the country, but they're just friends. Probably most of the friends were friends we probably grew up with, secondary school mates. You don't know their reality now. You just see them once in a while. So I had to do very intense research. I had to understand the environment I was going to. I had to look at, I had to do research around the safety around the environment. I had to look at the cost of living around the environment. I did research around the potentials for work. I did research around the potentials of getting a job after studies within the environment. I did research on how the environment valued the degree that I'll be getting and the school that's, issuing that degree. So I did quite a number of research. I did research around, hospitals, for my daughter, and potentially for my wife, because, family. Yeah. So you have to make plans. I also did research around, proximity to friends, these friends, you don't want to be in a space where if for any reason you need an external support, you need a hand to depend on, they are very far away. So I kind of had all of those conversations, and somehow the boxes ticked, and that's why we decided it was the right place to make the move.
No, that's really, really, really good. You did an extensive amount of research, even into the fact of hospital.
Yeah, I did.
Which is very, really, really extensive. And that's, again, another very good point that I want people to take out from this meeting or this discussion, that researching where you're going to is very, very important. I think people take it for granted, don't even do, and don't get any information where they are going to. But would you say that was a kind of, that helped in your ability to settle down very quickly?
Absolutely. In fact, I feel like I had almost a seamless settling experience. So, of course, it came with a few, challenges here and there, but it's not like, it's not like you come in without information, you come in without knowing what to expect. In fact, it was during the time I think I went for my capturing there, my medical capturing, that I understood that the weather in Scotland was different from the weather in England. And the weather in Aberdeen was even much more different from the weather in general. So I had to do some extra studies about the Aberdeen weather, what it's like, the wind and, the cold and all that. So these were areas that I had to look into. At some point, even when I was trying to, select accommodation, I was considering the locations, the amenities around, proximity to school. I recall discussing with my wife, well, this house is 15 minutes drive, 10 minutes drive to school. I think it's a good place to stay, That's these things where, I looked around for religious organizations, churches. I'm like, okay, this church is just there, 7 minutes walk from the house. This is because if you are moving with a family, it is not yours. It's not you. It's not. So if you're taking, there's certain risks that you don't want to take. You want to be sure that you are within a space where you can easily just, sort out issues that come up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's very, very a valid point. And like I said, I have seen people come in with 2-3 children. They had to lodge in, bed and breakfast. And like you said earlier on, the exchange rate, and before you know what, they were spending lots of money. So it is very important, planning. I think part of being resilient, or the ability to, withstand some of this, some, not all, because really, like you said, you can't really get the full picture of what you're going to face. You can only know so much and prepare for it. But I think that still helps you. So preparing and doing extensive research as much as you can, like what you did. really helps you in settling down quickly
Sure.
when you're thinking of maybe coming over to study. So I'm aware that while you were doing your master's, you were involved in some projects.
Yeah.
And I always like when students do that because I see it as they are trying to integrate into the community. Can you give us just like a brief explanation of the project? Was it one project or two projects? I think there were more than...
It was two. We had one with the APM, and then we had one with CQI. Even though the CQI itself was not really a project in itself, but I term it to be a project because it required certain level of plan, preparation, presentation, and of course, I'm getting feedbacks, and so that's like the life cycle of what you expect from a project. But the APM was more intense because it was I think it was called APM Project Management Scotland Project Management Challenge, and it was open to students students on I think those that are involved in the project management profession that are still within 1 to 3 years. So they were not students, yeah. So it was like a competition. So you had to raise funds for a chosen charity and of course help them create awareness. We had chosen one within Scotland and we put in the work. I was among the so we had about 3 students that also about 3 students that indicated interest, and then we made submissions. Ours was successful, and then we're commissioned to begin the project. I was kind of the project manager by what do they call it again?
experience.
Is it by experience or by delegation?
Okay.
Or,
Okay.
So the team kind of had that unanimous decision that you are probably fit for the role, and I was given that opportunity, and we did the much we could. We raised quite a huge sum of money for chosen charity, and we also helped to increase the awareness for the charity. It was really good. We had great social impact from the project, and the second is the CQI, which was making a presentation about on quality management processes, and I did something around that. It was quite a good presentation too. I got good feedbacks, and I'm happy that I went through those projects because they kind of helped me explore relationships, in the professional environment, and of course they helped me, develop certain contents that I could put forward as part of my, activities that I carried out during my postgraduate program.
You touch on a very important point, and it's again one of the things I try to tell students when they come: get involved, be involved.
Yeah.
Put yourself out there, like what you've done, taking up projects, even if they are small projects within the community. Sure. It's all about expanding your network, Absolutely. Getting to know people. Absolutely. And apart from the fact that it looks good on your CV, what is the additional skills that you learn, along the way, working with teams, working with different people, like culture, again, you work with different people from different cultures. So I think that was a very good initiative that you took on. So if you look back on your journey, like I said, I know from your profile I read you've settled down relatively well compared to your peers. And I know you were working, and it's not very common to see students still in their, doing their degree, getting a job. Is it a full-time or part-time job?
It's a part-time.
It's a part-time job. And what is it about? What do you do?
So what I do is I administer the project called Flourish. So the Flourish project is a project that's focused on helping kids develop better emotional well-being, emotional and mental well-being, increased happiness, and of course, increased self-esteem. So I administer the project. So I started the project with King's Community Foundation, and I help to, so it's more like, the entire project planning, life cycle from start to finish, 8 sessions, implementation process. And of course, gather the feedbacks, reports, and then submit to necessary stakeholders. That's basically what I do with,
Yeah.
foundation.
So you've actually done well. And how did you get, because I know some people come in and they settle for some other jobs or some, casual jobs, but what kept you going? How did you manage with you have a family, you were doing your MSc, probably working part-time.
Yeah.
What are those proactive things or actions you actually took in order for you to be able to secure this job?
So I would say that it is a level of intentionality. Like I was laser focused on what I wanted from the very day I stepped into the country. I had purposed in my heart that I was going to take advantage of every opportunity that comes within the project management environment, because that's the environment I wanted to, I wanted to progress on, which I've been building over the years. So just like the APM, I got through with that. It's a volunteer project. We got through with that. And then I was looking out for the next opportunity. I was always on Indeed, always on Glassdoor, looking for part-time project management opportunities. And when this came up, I jumped on it. Lucky enough, we had a couple of persons that also, applied for the role. It felt like, when you're applying for part-time role, it feels like you're just the only one, applying for the role. Until you go for the interview and then you discover that you're not alone. We've got 1,001 person.
Yeah.
And somehow I was able to scale through. I also think that part of the metrics that also helped me, made the success of that interview process was my volunteer experience with the APM, because I had worked with volunteers and the project was working with volunteers. The project is required people that have experience in the UK. I had volunteer experience in the UK. So all of these were part of, things that also helped me achieve that success. But I think ultimately it's about, purposing in your mind what you want to achieve. I had told myself I wanted to be within this space. Every other person, most persons that come, from most migrants will just, get into a job, just keep going with it. Some are actually willing, some would love to be in, professional environments, but they do not take the required action. They do not, keep an eye for opportunities. So these were like things I know I did, and I was constantly, hit. Of course, I had several, unfortunately. However, I kept, pressing the door. I kept knocking on the door. I kept pushing, and then this came through.
Yeah. Apart from taking advantage of opportunities, I think the fact that you were involved in some activity or some project helped you to secure this one. True. And that's, that is important. That's key. So when you come into an environment, be it a university or community, there's one thing, going through it, okay, I'm a student, I've come to do my master's, and you read and you have a distinction and off you go. Or allowing the university or the community actually go through you, so that you actually being involved in activities, social events and all that, because all that builds up, True. So yes, the opportunities will present itself, but if you're not prepared in terms of you've developed yourself in this particular skill, and remember you're coming in from a different environment, so you need to understand how it works and what is being required in the workplace. So I think that's also one of the things that you did that was good, and it worked out well for you in the end. Oh, thank you for sharing that again. So looking back at your journey, is there anything that you would have done differently? Do you have any lessons learned that you want to share?
Yeah. I took some time to look through my involvements and my activities over the last 2 years. Also, about 2 years, not up to 2 years though. And one of the things I think that I would need to do better at or be better at is, how quick I say yes to opportunities. Everyone wants to take advantage of opportunities. Everyone wants that privilege or that chance to live a dream, as they call it. However, not all opportunities are designed to help you achieve the dream. So you need to take some time to analyze your opportunities properly. Be sure that you are saying yes to an opportunity that is in line with, your future, the goals you have. And even when the opportunities are in line with the futures and goals, you may want to take a further step to, outline the benefits you intend to achieve from the opportunity. Be sure that the list you're making is not built on assumptive thoughts. They are characterized by, by feedbacks you have gotten from people that have probably explored that opportunity. They are not, what do I use now? They are not like, it's not about you living in your own world, thinking that because I am, involved in this, I am going to get that. You want to be certain that people that have been involved in this really get this, and be sure that that is what you want to, achieve before you say yes to every opportunity. If not, you spend your time, trying to do a whole lot. You're all over the place, running around, probably very busy, as they call it, but busy doing nothing, busy achieving nothing. So that's, for me, is, a major lesson.
Okay. No, that's true. Being able to analyze opportunities. Not jumping on every bandwagon and, going along with everything that comes. Okay. So before we round up, I want you to tell us, the audience, people listening, why did you decide to share your story? So what is that important message that you want to tell someone that is listening to this podcast right now, that you want to encourage based on your experience so far coming to the UK?
I decided to share my story, having read the invitation and all that. There are very key elements of the invitation that's aligned with my personality, and one of the many elements of that invitation was to inspire hope. I tend to believe that my life today is a product of hope. There are people that have gone ahead that I hear their stories. When I see them, I am convinced that I can, I will,
Mm-hmm.
I have the capacity to. I probably, also tell myself that, I am destined for. So when I see people that, share stories about their success, migration stories, academic stories, professional stories, entrepreneurial stories, those stories kind of motivate me. They keep me, so, and I just thought that, this may just be another opportunity to, to help someone out there. Maybe not everyone, but that one person out there that will say, oh, I want to take this journey. I want to embark on this journey. And they're having fears. They're dealing with the fears of, how to, doing all of the, trying to dot their I's, cross their T's. I don't have a family here. I don't have this here. How will I succeed here? These are things that if you're able to follow, some of the steps we have discussed over the last few minutes, you're able to, take certain steps to help you, convince you to take certain steps. And the second is to also encourage people to push boundaries, because like a friend of mine will always say, smart goals will help you achieve some level of sustainability, some level of continued, progress, but they don't stretch you. They don't help you achieve, ambitious, that ambitious personality that you want to become. So, in fact, in practical terms, my friend will, on his board in the office, he writes, goals for 2022, 7 billion, goals for 2023, and at the end of 2022, we are like, okay, we're trying to examine how well we have done. And then he says for 2023, it's going to be 10 billion. I'm like, why are you, lying to yourself? Why do you think that, it's safe for us to keep, shifting the goalposts, even when we have not even achieved the set one? And he explains to me the power of, of ambitious thinking, the power of setting ambitious goal, how they stretch you beyond normal, how they help you, move from point A to point C, or from point A to point D, rather than point A to point B to point C to point D, which the conventional smart goals will help you achieve. Yeah. And that for me was, good. So, for me, it's about, helping people, helping, the audience listening to us understand that they also need to consider an aspect of their life which will require certain ambitious goals, pushing boundaries and giving themselves opportunity to, you never know how much you can achieve once you push yourself. You never know.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Pushing boundaries, that is a key phrase I think anyone should take away from this podcast. Pushing boundaries. And I would add, there used to be a saying that the sky is your limit.
Yeah.
But I think now what I always tell people is that make the sky the beginning. It shouldn't be your limit. And that aligns with what you have said.
Yeah.
Knowing that, you can stretch your boundaries and achieve much more. And you also talked about stories that have encouraged you in the past, which is the main aim and objective of this podcast.
Yeah.
Is for people to come and share their experience, be it good, be it bad, be it ugly. And so that people are aware that they're not the only ones going through difficulties or challenges, but there's
Yeah.
always, hope.
True.
And such stories would always, encourage and empower people.
True.
So thank you very much for sharing your story. And that's the end of this episode. As usual, I would always say, be encouraged, get enlightened to become empowered. And if you do have something inspiring that you want to share, something that you think would be able to empower somebody or encourage someone or motivate someone, please send me an email to livingresilient101@gmail.com. Thank you and take care. See you in the next episode. Bye.